Members will recall that the final agreement was that we were going to present this document as cleaned up as possible. There might be 2 or 3 areas where we might need to tighten wording or agree on a position. We've also included submissions that we received orally from people like Mkwena and maybe Madam Van Dam and so on. Those we try to incorporate. So we'll want to go through those, and those have been highlighted, or not highlighted, underlined. We'd want to go through those to make sure that that's exactly what we meant and get that out of the way and have that sorted out. We're hoping that we haven't made too many mistakes, because then it means another round of editing. And we had asked members to make note of the ones where we'd want to have some discussion. And there were not very many of those that we'd want to make some discussion. I'm hoping members would have made notes of those, and we can zoom to those immediately after we agree that at least the wording is accurate. Then we can get into those and try and tighten those up. We also had, at the end of the day, requested legal opinion from the legal unit, because that opinion will then inform where do we take the document or where do we take the process after we've completed what we've done. Do we continue? Do we stop at that point, or how do we do it? And they will talk to us on that, and we can, as a committee, deliberate on that and then take a decision on that one. And I suppose at that point we will then have to take a decision, because I think we're going to have to have a break, depending on the decision, to do whatever cleanup, if there's still more cleanup to be done, and then come back. So that's how we envisage the day rolling out today. Being Friday, as usual, we know that members would want to leave early. So if we could be as specific and as pointed as possible, it's going to help all of us. That is how we want to go. Any comments on those, Ma'am Van Dam?
On an entirely different topic, Chair, I just wanted to raise an issue which I think is quite important. I got an SMS from Suna Fenter, one of the SABC 8s, yesterday, and I asked that she also get in touch with you. She told me that she was shot in the face with a pellet gun, and when she reported the matter to SAPS, they said it was the same modus operandi as all the other death threats and attacks against the SABC 8. So I think as a committee we need to come out strong and condemn this, because the attacks are clearly continuing, and attacks and intimidation against the SABC 8 is still continuing, and we must demand an immediate report from SAPS and an update on what's going on with the investigations.
Indeed, Sunette spoke to me yesterday. Suna, I beg your pardon, I'm saying Sunette, Suna. Indeed, she spoke to me, and I'd asked her to reduce it in writing, which I received this morning, I think. You have a copy? We can make it available, but it's basically saying what you're saying, to indicate that, I think it was the 23rd or recently, this happened in the parking lot somewhere, but we can make that document available. We received it from her. So I'm confirming what you're saying, and confirming the fact that she indeed made contact with me on the advice of the investigating officer. So I'm just confirming what Ma'am Van Dam has said. Now we can make that document available, or you've been informed on it. It's really nothing more than an SMS saying that she believes that it's linked, or the investigating officer believes that it's linked. So that's to place it formally on the record of this committee. On that matter only? Yes. Let's then take Singh. We will take Swartz. And then we will take Chauke. Rogers and Killian. On that matter, Honourable Singh.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the information, and thank you to Honourable Van Dam. But very briefly, not to belabor the point, now that this information has been formally tabled to you and to Honourable Van Dam, it begs the question, what are we going to do it as a committee? I recommend that the Chairperson write to SAPS and the authorities that be and bring it to their attention and ask them to speed up the investigation. I think that's about the best we can do. But I think we've said in the past that all these witnesses who've come here, there has to be some form of protection for them. We can't allow them to be allegedly intimidated in the manner that they have been. So I just wanted to know, what are we going to do as a committee or as the chair? Thank you.
All right. Honourable Singh is suggesting we write a letter ASAP. Honourable Swart.
No, Chair, I share the sentiments. We've already expressed ourselves on this issue about the outrage that it's an attack against us as Parliament as well, against witnesses. But Chair, we need to take this further now, because we're getting these ongoing reports, and we've referred it to the police and they're investigating it, but we've now need, in the Justice Committee, if we have a magistrate or someone that is threatened, then we have a risk assessment that is done, and there needs to be a risk assessment done. There needs to be as to whether personal security is necessary. This is very serious. We don't want to sit with a situation where something worse happens and then people say, but what did you do, Parliament? You knew about this. You've reported it to the police. They're investigating it. But we might need to consider a risk assessment as to whether personal security should not be in place for these journalists who are being threatened. And I think we need to take it. As I say, we've expressed ourselves very clearly on this. We've condemned it, but we need now as Parliament to take it a step further. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think it's still our concern. The last time when we engaged on this matter, Chair, we were requested to have an open engagement with the Minister of Police, because at the level, I even emphasize this point that at our level, I don't see us having to write to a station commander and say, station commander, please help. I thought at our level, because we are closer to the high level of the police, it means that we can again encourage the chair to take this matter urgently with the Minister of Police. With a view of clearly to say we really request intervention from police. That's all what we can do as a committee, to request that level to intervene and do all these threat assessments and all of that can be done by the police. So I think the call that we can make, Chair, is to in fact mandate you to directly talk to the Minister of Police on this matter. Formalize it at the same time through a letter, but have a contact with that particular level. That's where the state security should come into again. That's the time that they're required to play their role again, at the level of state security that is there. This is the national key point issues that we are dealing with. And I think that in that engagement, Chair, you'll have to escalate this thing again to that level. To say, here is a threat, people that they have appeared, or witnesses have been victimized, and in fact, one day will die, someone will be killed one day if we don't watch call. So I think we'll encourage you, Chair, to do that. Failure to which obvious, nothing stops us to invite the Minister of Police to come here and to explain to us as to exactly what is the problem. Because these matters have been reported many times, and we still believe that there's no protection that is coming forward. So I'm saying that for now, let's take it up with the engagement that does, I think, with the position that we have just agreed upon, Chair, that you then communicate with the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we also need to know that this shooting happened directly after the journalist made the written submission to this committee. So it is a direct, it's intimidation in the worst form. Also, we should bear in mind that Motsoeneng has 10 bodyguards of his own. Meanwhile, the journalists go around being threatened and they actually have no protection whatsoever. I would like to suggest, Chair, that as a committee, we get briefed by the police, and I'd like us to call the National Commissioner in and hear what. Who is the national? Is it a he or she these days? A he. Okay, I keep forgetting anyway. To call the National Commissioner in to brief us on what's happening with the investigation, how far it is, but in front of the whole committee, and also what's happening with regards to offering these 8 journalists protection, and in fact any other journalists that have been threatened. And it's a clear indication of how severe the rot is in the SABC, Chair. It looks like, it's like some mafia have taken over. A bunch of thugs are now running or trying to keep control of the SABC, and we've got to do everything in our power to protect those journalists and root out the rot that is set in the SABC. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just wanted to support the notion that we at least kickstart the process by if you will write to the Police Minister of Police, and also copy the Chairperson of the Police Portfolio Committee in this regard, to express our severe concern that this is ongoing, and to say that we need report back by X date, failing which we will have to request the Minister to appear before this Adhoc committee. We're still in existence until the end of February, and we believe we should deal with this process before we hand over the baton to the Portfolio Committee on Communication, etc. This is very, very serious, and we need to take very firm action. Secondly, I support Honourable Swart, who said that part of this should be that they must immediately conduct a risk assessment. And the risk assessment must be done on the SABC 8, but also on any other individuals who are reporting to us similar conduct where they are under threat or intimidation. This cannot be tolerated. It could be those in the administration, perhaps. This cannot be tolerated, and we really have to deal with this very, very firmly. Thank you, Chair.
All right. There doesn't seem to be any divergence. We will try and marry everything. We will write a letter. We will refer to the letter that we wrote in December. I think it was the 15th of December. Indicating that this has now come to our attention, and that they must investigate the possibility of a risk assessment and whatever goes with the risk assessment on journalists as and when we get that information. Of course, they can't do it on 1,400 journalists, but as we get it, we will be specific in terms of the ones, and we will raise this one, and we will copy Suna's letter, because she says she's talking to investigating officers, so there is some process within SAPS. We will write a letter, refer to the December one, and take it from there and give you feedback as soon as we get feedback. We will get that letter out sometime during the course of next week. Is that okay? And we'll keep you up to speed in terms of where or what type of response we get from the Ministry of Police.
Chair, my apologies, Chair. I think one of because we wrote the letter in December, Chair. I'm not sure if there was any response. If there was no response, Chair, the committee proposal is that you communicate with the Minister of Police directly, as much as we'll write the letter to bring the attention to the Minister of Police, Chair. Because if the first watch call was not responded, someone will die. Someone will be killed, and when nothing is being done. So, Chair, our proposal of the committee is that just escalate it, Chair. We have capacity to escalate it to that level, talk directly to the Minister and bring this to the attention and follow it up with that letter, Chair. And we'll want a response, Chair. Black and white response, clear deadline, Chair, with the letter.
All right, let's marry the two. We'll write the letter, because the letter at least gets delivered urgently. The interaction with the Minister, of course, depends on availability. So we'll do both of them. We will write the letter, and we will propose a meeting. I'm sure the Minister will be here next week when we have the State of the Nation. So we'll try and do both of them. I don't think there's anything wrong in doing both of them. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. Can we then, honourable members, having dealt with that, we are happy with that approach, honourable members? We will write a letter and we will try and have a face-to-face engagement. Even if it's not me, we will take 2 or 3 of us. I mean, it's not a problem if we have a face-to-face meeting, just to emphasize the importance of it, depending on Minister's availability. All right. Honourable members, we have a document, interim draft, in brackets draft V4, as amended on the 26th. Everybody? Yes. That's the one that we attempted to put together before, after our deliberations yesterday. And we have highlighted, or not highlighted, underlined, we've underlined the areas where we added on your advice as best as we could add it. So we're going to go through just those areas where there are changes, honourable members. We'll go through those areas where there are changes, and we'll go page by page. If there's a change, no change on that page, we'll just skip it. It's either highlighted or underlined. Mr. Singh wanted to say something. Let me start with Kubisa first, because he hasn't spoken. Then we go Swart, and then we go Singh.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just wanted to know the difference between the underlined and the highlighted. Is it one and the same thing?
No. Underlined and highlighted is the same thing. Where we've scratched through means we're taking it out. But underlined and highlighted is the same thing, or made bold, or whatever. Those mean we've added or changed. And where we've put a line through means we've taken out, either for making grammatical sense or because we didn't agree with what was in the original document. Honourable Swartz.
No, that's what was my question, Chair. But is this draft 4? Because then I must have missed something. There was the working document, yesterday's document. Is this draft? Where's the third? This is draft 4 then, or is this draft 3? It doesn't really matter, but I'm just wondering if I missed the draft. Okay, thank you.
This is the one after yesterday's deliberation.
So it's draft 3. Yeah.
This is the most latest one, incorporating what we discussed. Singh.
No, Chair, thank you. I was just gesturing to my right here that we need the legal opinion before we start with this. Thanks.
Before we start. Oh, I thought we'll deal with this first and then start, because that had impacted later on. It doesn't matter to me, but I thought we'll deal with this, get it out of the way. Legal opinion? That's fine?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, members. I start from the basis that our bottom line is not to prejudge a matter.
Hello?
So do we not have a physical copy, hard copy of the legal opinion?
It's really not a formal legal opinion. She's just talking notes. If you want copies of talking notes, we can do that. I think she gave me a 1-pager, but it's nothing.
Well, it's nice to have it in front of us so we can engage afterwards.
Well,
thank you.
That is why, if that's what we want to do, can we make copies whilst we go through the report? Could we do that? And then talk to this when we've got it in front of us? All right. Can you prepare enough copies for everybody? And as soon as we've got, then we're going to deal with this, and then get that one, because people will have copies. Is it both pages? Yeah. If you can just make that and make, is that okay? All right. Honourable members, on page 1, we added what members had said in terms of, it was really just to make it flow and to make sense. Anybody got comments on page 1? Okay. Yes? Yes. On page 2, the changes are the ones that are underlined and or highlighted. Where it's been scratched through means we're taking it out. So on page 1, there's nothing that we've taken out. We've just added, I think it was Ma'am Loliwe's input. Yes, sir?
There's a omission from yesterday's report to this report, and maybe we decided to take this paragraph out. I didn't make a note, so I apologize up front. But it's the Mshlangu clause, where on page 2 of yesterday's report, the top, right? It says, as a result, the National Assembly established Adhoc committee to inquire into the fitness of the SABC board to discharge its duties as prescribed in the Broadcasting Act. And we said we would also include any other applicable legislation. But I don't know if we've included somewhere else or we decided to take it out. Okay.
1.1, Mr. Waters, does 1.1 cover your point? Cindy's saying she tried to incorporate in 1.1. Let me just hear Mr. Waters, then we can take comment. You covered. All right. Anybody else wants to talk to it? No.
No,
Happy?
covered, Chair.
Fine. All right. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Waters. On page 2, under the word rendered, you'll see there's something called unsubstantiated. We just added NU. On page 2, right at the top. That's the only change on page 2. Unsubstantiated. You got it? Up. Unsustainable, I beg your pardon. All right. Page 3, 221. It's really just making it nice. 221, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Just on 221, we're supposed to denote that asterisk means alternate. At the bottom of that paragraph. Oh, right, okay. Fine. Is it labeled 1, the asterisk? Okay, fine.
All right. Anything else on page 2? Are we happy? Thank you. Top of page 3. On 232. Yes? Okay. At 233. You see we crossed out the last few. Does that sentence read all right for you? 223. Fine. 241. We just added certain Chapter 9 institutions. It was somebody's request. I think it was Killian's request yesterday. That's all we added. 241. We just put the fact that it's Chapter 9 institutions. All right? I'll give you time to read it. It's fine. Nothing on page 5, nothing on page 6, page 7, 2412. We just added support public broadcasting coalition. We together? Page 8, nothing. Page 9, we added the word summons or changed or amended. Does it fit in properly? 252. Yes? Summoning. All right? Okay, can I go to 255? My suggestion, Cindy and I just looked at it now, and we'll try and explain it. We're suggesting that we finish that 255 at the end of interested and affected parties. Firstly, that thing says a full list of documents received are included here. We took a decision that we were not going to include the documents. And the documents as well as the transcripts of proceedings are available on request. We thought we would just take those two things out and just stop at parties. We should have taken it out yesterday. It will be in the final version. That's what Cindy's saying. That's what we're suggesting. If members agree, it will be in the final version. Are we happy with that? Three one three. Yes, sir.
Chair, I just thought, I'm just suggesting that where we've got the Broadcasting Act, because the first time we actually referred to the Broadcasting Act, other than it being referred to in the terms of reference, we should put the Broadcasting Act, whatever it is, 4 of 1999, sort of specific, and Companies Act, whatever it is, as amended that. And then after that, we refer to it as the Broadcasting Act. Because on the next page, page 11, you'll see on 331, you've got Broadcasting Act. So we don't have to repeat Act 4 of whatever, but I just thought we should include the actual Act. Thanks.
313 in the middle of the page. I see Killian. Just to try and explain it, where we've got NA and that house, you'll see that just before that we said the NA, and we were arguing should we put the NA twice. That's why we said NA of that house. Because we'll be saying, for the removal by a committee of the National Assembly is adopted by the resolution of the National Assembly. And we said that house. It's really neither here or there. But do you want to talk to that, anybody? We need to have one of them. We can't have both. We just defer to your wisdom. Which one? That house. That house? Agreed.
Chair, we know what NA is, but does everybody else know what NA is?
On the top it says National Assembly, the very first 1.1. All right. Okay. 331, we just did as you said, put Broadcasting before Companies Act. Happy? Yes. 334, we just added referred to, and it's really just to make it sound better. You can read that sentence if you think that we are on the right track. Indicate if you think we're on the wrong track. Suggest. Happiness. 337 was the next one. Broadcasting Act. There was no content changes. It was just nothing on page 13. And then on page 14, 421, we just added that bill is in process. Remember, people said where was it and so on, and we agreed that we'll say it's just somewhere. It's been introduced. And then of course on page 15 we've just got bill on 142324 and 42. Cindy, why we've got 424? We'll change the wording. We've got 424 twice. All right, not the wording, the numbering. Yes, sir.
Put in after 42.1 where you have Broadcast Amendment Bill be through, and then after that the bill, so that the reference is clear to that. After no, you got it, Cindy?
Where?
So that when we refer to the bill, we're referring to that bill.
Okay.
No, when you put something full, then after you just put in brackets what it is. Like National Assembly, NA. That's just to be consistent throughout. It's a consistency issue.
Yeah, Mike, Chair.
439, we just add, those were two separate paragraphs, we just made them, or two separate bullet points, we made them one. 433, we had testimony and the advice of Mr. Swartz, we've put evidence. And the same with 4312. And then of course we've got appointment and removal. Good. 5.1, Honorable Kubisa asked us to put in the years. That's all we did. Nothing on page 19, nothing on 20, nothing on 21, nothing on 22, nothing on 23, 24, 25, nothing, 26, I think it was Honorable Van Dam that said we must go to the PFMA and put the sanctions.
It's quite a little bit more than that, but I'm not going to be too fussy about it. I mean, the law is there. If we need to refer to it, we can. That's right.
Remember, we had said that we don't want to cut and paste everything from there as long as we make reference to it. Is that okay? Yes, the sections for me is the more important one. People can go and read up what that section means. 6.2, we put oral.
Chair,
Sir?
just on that one, where we've got Shushu and everybody else, I come from a party, we are sticklers about protocol. Mr. Shushu or Miss Lamini, all of them, Lamini, Shushu, and Siesi. Yebo.
Noted, we will try and do that. Page 27, nothing. Page 28, we try to accommodate Mr. Singh on 632. Honorable Singh. 634, we put the word million. 64, okay, we will put in the doctors and whatever, but we put the word oral, and then right on top we've got unexpectedly. I think yesterday we had expected. We put unexpectedly. Nothing on page 30. Nothing on page 31. On the top of page 32 we've got representing. Seven, 2, 3, we changed refuting to contradicted and indicated. And then 731, 723, I beg your pardon, that was, I think, Mkwena's contribution. I think it was. It's fine. Oh, it was yours, I beg your pardon, it was somebody's contribution. Is it fine? I'm looking at the author just to make sure that we've captured what you've said to us. And then members, if they want to have a view on it, they can. 7. Yes, ma'am?
May I ask a question to legal? The second sentence reads, he further revealed that Morning Live resources were diverted. What is the word revelation? You know, does it mean that we should have checked the information, or does it just refer to he claimed or he alleged? You know, I'm just asking, are we perhaps on risky ground? What would be the right word
Let's go on the safer one. Let's go on the one where there will be no ambiguity. He stated. All right. Got that?
Are you on page 32?
Yes, sir?
There's a double numbering 723.
Yes, thank you very much. You got that? It's because you put us under pressure at 2 o'clock in the morning. Page 33. The office responsible for supply chain management had been consulted. Had not been consulted, I beg your pardon. Are we happy with that? 811, we put in full SOS, and then we had that big fight amongst ourselves, and we tried to change it to say the organization is of the firm view. People happy with that? And then we took out. You happy with the reformulation? All right. 821, we added the words according to the minister. And we took out being at the second last sentence. That fine? 821, we put some. Bless you. 823. I'll give you a chance. We'll give you a chance to read to 823. You happy, Mr. Mukwena? But other members can read through it because it was quite a substantial change. Beg, you want to talk to it? Oh, you're saying they're happy? Okay. All right. 824, uncertainty. I think it was just a spelling error yesterday from us. And then we added according to Ms. Shabalala. Agreed? Yes. 35, no changes. 36, no changes. 37, we put principals as opposed to principals as in teachers on 913. Where's SACB? Okay. All right, we'll change that according to the SABC. Read that 914 and tell us if you're happy with it. The whole of 914, anybody got problems with the reformulation? Happy with the new formulation? Thank you. Yes, sir? Cindy's suggesting that we did have that discussion there, and I must be honest, I'm not sure what our final formulation was.
The discussion was that Cindy was going to look through the evidence and then formulate a thing in there. It just needs to be a paragraph, even one line. I can write it. I'll sponsor it. Is it fine? Okay. Yeah? No, I'll put it in front of everybody to look at and then. Okay.
That he'll sponsor a line like we've been doing consistently, and we can read it and agree or disagree to it.
No, I'll do that. No, it's just that I had offered yesterday to sponsor it, but then you said.
And I think we said we better look at it because it could be much more than.
Yeah. But I'll make it very short and so that.
Let's take Van Dam and then let's take Loliwe on this point. Yes.
Sure, Chair. I'm happy for that to be added, but if we're going to be accurate, it wasn't only the EFF; it was opposition parties. So if we're going to name political parties, we name all of them, or we say opposition parties.
Chair. Chair, I'm sharing the same sentiments. Let's not single out a party. That's what we were fighting when Ms. Chabalala was leading evidence, when she mentioned some people and did not mention others. Let's rather say some opposition parties, because I don't think she listed all the opposition parties. Thank you.
We're going to have a last bite, and this will be the first time we vote. We'll go that route. Yeah, Baba.
No, Chair, I don't have a problem. You know, the only problem is that in the evidence, there was no other evidence referring to any other party except for the EFF. It's absolutely true, because if you can show me transcripts, right, where it says that the DA there was a move against the DA or the IFP, or then I'm quite happy to say opposition parties. But you know, I'm not hard and fast on it, to be honest. I can honestly write a thing that says opposition parties, and I don't have a problem with it. I'm just alerting the committee that there was no other evidence referring to any other. If you can give me any other evidence, I'm fine. Thanks.
You will sponsor a one-liner, and then we'll revisit it. Whether we hard and fast on a party or we'll put both parties, but we'll conclude that one now, sir, if you could do that for us. Let's deal with it and get it out of the way. I don't want to be postponing anything today, honestly. So if you could draft that for us, Honorable Mukwena. All right. And anything else on 914? No? 914. 914. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know where, did we speak later on about the intimidation and attacks on the SABC 8? I thought we should just include a line about today's information too. I think we speak about it later on in the document, if not here. Yeah.
Ms. Killian. 914. Let's not jump all over. Let's just deal with 914, and if you want to sponsor another one, you'll sponsor it. I'm discouraging you. I'm really discouraging new information unless it's substantially going to change our report. Makes our life difficult. Yeah.
Good. Chairperson, just there where the underlined bold section is, during this time an editorial decision by the SABC was announced banning the airing of violent footage. Can we just delete the first three words thereafter and just say journalists were also suspended and summarily dismissed for challenging editorial directives, so that we don't start two sentences in this period? That's the only thing.
Fine. I want to repeat over and over again, honourable members, this is a draft report. So you will have another bite again later on. But what Honourable Killian is saying is that we take out the words "in this period" after the underlined footage. We just start with journalists. No change to anything. It's just flows through the 915. 915 happy? Thank you. 916 we took out and refuted and put denied to be consistent. That is 923. 923 we just added the word, or we substituted refuted with denied. 39. No
Chair,
changes.
Just small correction. The numbering 1013 to 1015. There's 1014 that.
All right. Page 40. Yeah, I think we were just trying to clean it up, but I don't think we changed the sentiment. That's 11. All we did is we just added what was in brackets. And then and then 1211, Mr. Swat.
I'm just thinking, is that a correct reflection? Because at the beginning of the inquiry, Professor Muguba was still there. Was it not during the course of the inquiry? Because he resigned during the course. At the time of the inquiry. It's probably similar, but at the time, when we think of, yeah, I would say during the course of the inquiry. Or I need some help there, because you could say, but at the time of the inquiry, you would think when it was instituted. I just need to, so that it... Yeah, but at what part of the inquiry? When the inquiry started? No, but he was there then. But the sentence is because it had no non-executive members, but it did have non-executive.
Thanks, Chair. I agree with his sentiments. Let's just indicate the non-executive that were there when we started. Also, Chair, in the same paragraph, to me, when you say in addition, all three is executive, so I'm reading what is here, so please don't harass me. All three of its executive, that's what I wanted to indicate. Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chairperson, we can also have the following, and that is just to say, at the time of the inquiry, and I would like Honourable Swartz to listen, the board was dysfunctional because apart from the board chairperson, it had no non-executive members, which also, apart from the board chairperson.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, we'll come to you in a second, sir. Anything else on 1211? No? 1215? 1215? Yes, ma'am.
Apologies, Chair, for taking you back. I just want us to check at what stage did the other two, remember there were three that had not resigned. And then later on the two resigned and it was only the professor. I think when we started, three were still there. And then the other two quickly resigned after we have started, and then the professor was the last to leave the stable.
That's correct. I think in our very first meeting we got communication via SMS, and it was confirmed a day or two later. You're right. In that meeting in 314, they had not formally resigned and their resignation accepted. Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Loliwe reminds me of, Honourable Loliwe reminds me of the resignation letter or the contestation of the resignation of some of the board members. Now, isn't that an observation that we should be making somewhere? And I don't know what's the import of that. You remember we discussed that some of the members had contested their dismissal, not the resignation, their dismissal. 3 members of the board. Have we observed that anywhere, and what impact does it have? Should we observe it? Because it's a fact that they contested their dismissal. In court, yeah, in court.
So somebody must just sponsor a one-liner. You've already sponsored it. Have you already sponsored one?
Are we talking about the first line, Chairperson?
No, we're not talking about the first line. The first line we all agreed. Oh, no, we didn't agree because we were saying it's more than just one. But if I allow you, then I must go back to Mr. Mokwena. Maybe we should go back to Mr. Kwena quickly, then we'll come back to you, because we said we don't want to hold anything. We just gave him time. Please refer to which paragraph was that? 912. 914, yes? You want it as a separate one? Yeah?
Evidence was also heard from the SABC 8 that journalists and editors were pressurized not to cover election campaigns by opposition parties. In some cases, Mr. Tlaudi had informally insisted on more positive coverage of certain individuals within the ruling party. This, they emphasized, was in contradiction of the SABC mandate to strengthen democracy. Yeah? Yeah, can I speak to you, Chair? Evidence was also heard from the SABC 8 that journalists and editors were pressurized not to cover election campaigns by opposition parties. Full stop. Yeah? Yes. Right. In some cases, Mr. Tlaudi had informally, or Mr. Mutweneng, sorry, had informally insisted on more positive coverage of certain individuals within the ruling party. This, they emphasized, was in contradiction of the SABC's mandate to strengthen democracy. No, Yeah, there was a point at which the president had said something, and Mr. Hlaudi said that he cannot be portrayed in that way, and that they must. I think it was Talata, and that the president must always be portrayed in a positive way, and also in the instance where they were talking about when they were in Parliament here, I think it was Talata as well. Who said that someone had said to him that don't embarrass me, you must portray the president in a positive way.
That's why I'm saying I'm worried about the name.
No, I didn't put the name.
You said Mr. Howard.
Oh, Mr. Musone.
And I'm saying then it limits it just to one. I'm saying if you had said there were efforts, or if you want the name, then you
No problem. I hear you.
That's what I'm arguing.
No, no.
You want to say something, huh?
Chair,
Opposition.
I'm partially covered by what you said, but also worried by us taking something which even the orator is saying was informally said to him or her. Thank you.
As soon as we've done here, I'm going to address that one. But I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying, let's hear what he's saying, discuss it, and take the way forward. Because that's why I said on the first one we had done, that one we had to do. It's the informal one, we might come back to you. That was the last part of his interview.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go on this.
It's just one word. Instead of ruling, governing. Political parties govern, royal families rule. There's a big difference. One's electable and accountable, one isn't. No, with the amendment.
Yeah.
With the amendment. So if you could change ruling to governing, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let me just address this point because it's not directed to you, Mr. Honorable Mokoena. Honorable members, remember what we said. We have said this document will go out to people to concur of what we reflected is accurate or not. Now, if what Mr. Mokoena is saying, somebody came back and said, I didn't actually say that, we'll have to take that into account. Or we can go and say, no, you actually said it in the transcript. So what I'm saying is, we must always bear in mind that this document is not going to be, we will have to incorporate at some point comments made from the people who we're sending it to. You with me? So that's why I'm just saying we must be wary, not wary, we must be aware of the fact that our evidence will be challenged, or our interpretation of it. But in instances where we've got transcripts, we'll be able to say, here's the transcript, we stand by what we are saying. I just thought I'd make that point, yes.
No, I think I misunderstood what was being said here. No, the evidence was given in front of the committee, and the person Galata said that it was informally said to him. So this is a correct depiction of what he told us. It's not to say that he told us informally. I thought maybe that's what, yeah. But I would suggest that before you adopt this, that you just check the transcripts and make sure that I'm absolutely correct, even though I know I am.
That's not going to be possible. It's not going to be possible. If you want to, I hear what you're saying. That's why I was saying, let's rather err on the side of safety, because we're going to have another bite later on, as opposed to digging ourselves into a hole and coming back and arguing ourselves out of the hole. It's better that if we've got the facts, it's fine. If we don't have the facts, we incorporate what we think should be there, and we can always add to it. But I'm not sure that we can go to the transcripts, can we? Okay, Cindy's going to try through her magic to get to the transcripts, and we'll come back to it.
I think generally we
That there was evidence to that effect. So, because I'm trying to be as non-specific as possible, so that we don't get into those legal technicalities you're talking about.
it's a new bullet point. Evidence was also heard from the SABC 8 that journalists and editors were discouraged from covering the elections campaigns of opposition parties. Full stop. In some cases, it was informally indicated that certain, you got certain more positive. No, you've got that. Indicated that certain. You haven't finished it. That, read it, yes?
It was informally indicated that certain personalities within the governing party should receive more positive coverage.
Certain individuals. Asibuye there. We're not coming back to that one. We'll look at it when we come back after we've received. Otherwise, we're going to continue forever and ever. Ms. Killion.
Chairperson, since the reference to the three non-executive members.
No, we're on this one first.
Okay.
We were comfortable with the approach, and I'm saying that's the best we can do now, and we will give you a copy. We're going to break for an hour anyway to clean it up. When we break for an hour to clean it up, please just mark this one. I think we've captured it. This is the only one that, remember, after our cleaning up, you'll have to look at. Okay, just mark that we must come back to 915. Then yours, Ma'am Killian, was?
Chairperson, it was 1211.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chairperson, I would like to recommend that we start as follows. I have checked with Honourable Swart that we say at the commencement of the inquiry, the board was dysfunctional since only 3 non-executive board members were in office. Full stop. As a consequence, the board could not call quorate meetings. Furthermore, some former non-executive board members who were removed from the board challenged their irregular removal through a legal process. And then we continue with in addition. Then we have put, yeah. I just introduced 3 sentences before we move to in it. Okay. Yes, certainly. At the commencement of the inquiry, the board was dysfunctional since only 3 non-executive board members were in office. That's a fact. Full stop. As a consequence, the board could not call quorate meetings. Full stop. Furthermore, some former non-executive board members, who were removed from the board challenged their irregular removal through a legal process. Full stop. And then we resume, in addition, all 3 its executive directors, as it is there on the document at present.
Is that okay for the first bite? Yeah. Please, please, please. You'll email it. Okay. That's done with page 40. Anything else on page 40? No. Page 41. (41) 1215. All right. 1215. Yes. No. Agreed. Okay. 1218. Yes, sir.
Chair, I thought we agreed we're going to start the paragraph with despite, but I mean, I'm just saying, so it was going to read, despite the company secretary having served in the position for a long period of time and was highly experienced and qualified, former board members reported an unusually large number of special meetings. That's all right? Okay, so you put despite, and then it's just the company secretary as it is there, serving or having served or serving in the position for a long period of time and was highly experienced and qualified, right? Comma, former board members reported, and just carry on. Oh, I hope.
All right? Anything else on page 41? No. Page 42. On the top, we put Prof. Maguve. I don't know, Mr. Singh, is Prof good enough, or must we say Professor? Professor. So that Mr. Singh is happy. Instead of Prof, make it Professor. And you got that one. Instead of Prof, you want Professor. You're not in charge. They're in charge. They want Professor. Cindy doesn't agree with you, but I'm saying she's not in charge. She wants to know, must she change it everywhere? Yes. Well, Cindy, we're only the servants here. And then, and is in terms of the PFMA, we're happy with that? Yes. Yo, this is the one that we've been hassling with forever. Let me look straight to Mr. Swartz. Please read it and then tell us if you're happy with it. Other members will, but let's start with you because you've been the sponsor of it.
Okay, so this relates, let me read it. The committee notes with concern the evidence about the SABC's financial management and sustainability. There is evidence of the possibility of a looming financial crisis. In addition, there's reference in the management letters. I'm not sure about that word letters because I would have said report or letters. Okay, letters or letters that point to material uncertainty on the going concern assumptions. In this, and then it goes on to say, in this regard, the funding model is of concern, particularly in light of the SABC's mandate as a public entity and a commercial enterprise. The corporation may be at risk of becoming technically insolvent. That captures.
Are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that. It's more nuanced. I said is at risk. It may be at risk. So we've stated it very diplomatically. Yeah. Technically insolvent means that that your assets exceed your liabilities exceed your assets in certain, or your cash flow. It's an issue of cash flow. You might have immovable assets, properties and everything, but your cash flow and revenue is a problem. And that term is used in the Auditor General's report as well. So I think it captures it. It goes to the heart of our mandate, which is to look into the financial sustainability as well. So I'm happy with that formulation, Chair. The evidence of looming financial crisis is also contained in the SOS submission, if you need other substantiation for that.
We just wanted to make sure we captured your sentiments because it's new and like everything else, anybody wants to comment on it. Dr. Koza.
Chair, I think the second sentence would read better if we don't repeat evidence, but instead we says there appears to be a looming financial crisis because it links with evidence which has already been mentioned in the first sentence. Just to avoid tautologies.
Say that slowly so that me and Cindy's brain can get into working order.
No, Chair, I was saying let's amend this second sentence to read, there appears to be a looming financial crisis. Full stop. Instead of saying there is evidence because you...
All right. I think we're all happy with that. 3.1.1. 13.1.1, I beg your pardon. I'm not sure who sponsored that one, or was it just a reformulation, but are we comfortable with it as it stands? Even if it's not the right word for now, we'll fix it up when we come back, don't worry. We're never ever going to get the right word because my English and your English are probably at different levels, so as long as the sentiment is understandable to everybody. Yeah. We are appealing for that because anything else on page 42? No. No? Yes, thank you. Page 42, 43, we just added and removal to be consistent. 13. No, but we're still 1313. Everybody's happy with 1313?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Singh, you're saying 1322?
Yeah, it's board minutes, not broad.
Not broad minutes.
Yeah, no.
How do you know that it's not broad minutes? We intended to say broad minutes. Yeah. You want us to vote on whether it's broad or board?
Yeah, nighttime and daytime works.
Okay, 1322. Are we happy with it?
Yep.
Thank you. 1323. Happy? Thank you very much. Anything else on page 43? Page 44, I'm sure that evidence was testimony, and we just changed it to evidence, I'm sure. And then 1416 was a new sentence. Committee felt that we must highlight that there were some legal proceedings with the multi-choice captured. And then Honorable Mukwena, those were your two submissions. We tried to capture them. I think you have, yes, ma'am, Loliwe.
Chair, I think we need to double check, is it Sabelo Klabisa or Sekela Klabisa? Because he continued to call Sabelo, and I thought maybe Sabelo is his younger brother. Because I think on paper it's Sekela Klabiso. Thank you, Chair.
All right.
And Chair,
you happy?
Chair, is it one name or is it his first name and a surname? Sekela Klabiso is just one. It's not Naren Singh. Oh, okay.
No, Chair,
I know it's Friday, honourable members, but this is still serious business. Are we talking to 2.4.1? 14.21, I beg your pardon. Let's take Masangu and then we take Professor Kubisa.
Chair, thank you. On your line 2, procurement from Sabelo Klabisa, and the committee is satisfied. Are we satisfied? I think I propose that we possibly say regarded the evidence than to say satisfied. Because it means we have done the investigation and we are indeed satisfied with it. Because if we say we regard it, of even that is fine. Yes. Exactly. It's fine. Yeah.
except Chair, I think we're nitpicking because it doesn't say we're satisfied. It says we're satisfied that the evidence suggests some irregularity in the company. I think we're all satisfied that it suggests there's some irregularity. But I'm not too hard and fast on it.
Committee noted. Okay. And then 14.3.1. Are you still on 40? I beg your pardon. Sorry, Professor.
Just a minor thing. The last sentence. It should be, and that procurement procedures may have been circumvented in the awarding of it. In the awarding of it, or may have been circumvented in awarding it, depending on which one you want to put. In awarding it or in the awarding of it.
That's what Cindy has decided. 1431. Happiness. Can we move on to page 45? 1511. 15.1.1, I beg your pardon. Any comment? 15.1.1. No? 15.1.2. My criticism to Cindy was that that sentence is very long, but it's very, very long. Mr. Swartz.
Is it correct to say that the appointment of the COO, at the time of his appointment, he had a number of adverse findings against him by the courts? Is that correct as a matter of fact at the time of his, we know subsequent to his appointment? At the time, you just need to be factually correct. At the appointment, who has had, maybe one can change the first had to has, who has had.
Chairperson, I think we should just be corrected because his appointment was on the 7th of July 2014. At that stage, we should be able to determine, I believe that there was at least one court finding against him. Would it not be safer to refer to say who has had an adverse finding made against him by the court as well as the public protector? Yeah, but not a number of findings. That is what Honourable Swart has also just has had. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Welcome, Honourable Nkwankwa, and we did get information that you weren't here yesterday. We never said it formally, but I was informed. (1512).
Just you said you had a comment about the long sentence. Should we not just put a full stop after the public protector? And then we say, in addition, he did not meet the most basic criteria, and his appointment did not follow relevant employment processes. Then we can proceed with in particular, or we can start in particular as a new sentence. Then we just are letting it flow, but we have sentences that also are more sort of restricted and not as long. I will email it, but as long as there's principal agreement for it.
Mr. Waters?
Maybe instead of saying the next sentence in particular, we could say, this points to the board and its subcommittee's failure. Just to make it easier, but I'll leave it in your capable hands.
Thank you. 1522, I think we changed summons to evidence and we added the word serious. Yes, ma'am?
It's 1521. Sorry to take us back. Can we include a line saying that the intimidation and attacks continued during the course of the inquiry? I think that's quite important to include.
We received reports, Chair, that the alleged intimidation and whatever were the content.
Thank you. Where were we now? 1522, we put evidence as opposed to, I think we had testimony, we put evidence. Right? And then we put serious because Mr. Walters wanted serious. Yes, sir.
That I'm just thinking of that insertion.
Which insertion?
That we just suggested the committee received reports of ongoing threats. Surely we should comment on that. We comment, we note with concern previously, we concur. We should say it. The committee received reports. It considers this in a very serious light. Should we not make some comment or judgment on that, as we have already indicated? Is this the place to put that in? And have taken the necessary steps to address this issue? It's a
Thanks, Chair. I think here we are indicating the information we have received. Then the latter part should be our recommendation on what should happen about it. Thanks, Chair.
Page 45. Page 45. I beg your pardon, 46. Yes, sir. 1711.
Chair, sorry, can I just go to 1611? Something came to mind there, and
Yes.
1612. A possible omission on 1611 and the veracity of 1612. Now here, the board had gone to great lengths to avoid implementing the public protector's remedial action. Did we not hear evidence that they instead relied on the attorney, whatever his name was, Mkunu's way of dealing with quote-unquote remedial action? You know, for there, I feel that's an omission there. And then on 1612, all right, okay. I'm suggesting that we add that, you know, where they say they went to lengths avoiding the remedial act, public protector's remedial action, they instead relied on a report drawn up by attorney Mkunu, I don't know the name of, by attorney Mkunu, who suggested a way forward, something like that. You can put it. So that's what they did. They ignored this and they relied on that. Okay. The lawyers are searching, we just say a firm of attorneys instead of mentioning Tunu. Yeah. That's a fact. Chairperson, there I just wanted to know, I might have missed things. Did we hear that they agreed to take the report on review? Did we hear that? I don't know, because when Ms. Shabalala was giving evidence, she spoke about it and she was asked specifically, then did you take it on review? They said, no, they had some concerns, but they accepted the report in broad terms. But did they actually, factually, take the report formally on review, the Public Protector's report? I don't think they did.
Cindy,
I don't know.
Cindy says she shared it with us on Friday, that she received it from the Public Protector, that there was a review in place.
And I rest my case, Chair.
I think what we need to understand is that was after partial implementation of some of the Public Protector's remedial action. Because remember, they have gone through a so-called DC. So they have partially implemented, and then 2 years after the event, there's a process to apply for a review. So that is the issue as well, and I think we should remember that.
Honourable members, please go back to 16.2. What is wrong with 16.2 as it stands? I'm not disputing your added. What is wrong with 16.12? If you want to add something new, you can add something new.
My point was, did they agree or not?
Yes,
and you're saying that they did agree.
Yes.
And we have evidence that they did take it on review. So it's okay.
So are you comfortable with it?
I am.
No, that's why I'm asking the question. Do we still want this part that says partially and all those type of things? Eh? We're going back to Ms. Killian and then we'll come to you, Ms. Van Dam. I'm advocating that we leave it as it is. It's not taking anything away from it. Okay. All right. Point 18? No, point 17.11. Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to understand the context of that. Yes, the minister was silent at the time, but did she not in her evidence say that she would have addressed the issue or something like that? I seem to remember her saying that she will address it, or she would have addressed it when she gave evidence. So maybe one should say the minister's silence at the time, which would contextualize it correctly. She definitely gave some evidence that she would, when we asked her about it, why didn't you do anything? She said, well, she would have, or she will. Yeah. So I think just to say at that time, after the word silence.
No, Chair, I asked her the question about why she didn't rein in the board. And her response was not that she was out of the country. The response was that she wanted to do it, but she only, it was waffly. If we go back to the transcripts, she did not say it is because I was out of the country.
Maybe I've got the words wrong, she's out of the country, but I'm saying the point that we put last night, the minute was silent, and I think this is what somebody raised. She was not silenced. She might have given us a reason that we might not agree with. And I think that's what Mr. Swartz is raising. Is it accurate to say the minister was silent?
She did not say anything. She did not do anything.
No, but you just now said she waffled about something.
Yeah, she waffled about that she wanted to do it, but she didn't do anything. And then she said she was going to do it this year or something, I can't remember.
I just don't think she was silent about the issue. That's the only issue.
What did she say, though?
But even if but she said something about the issue, so she wasn't silent. We could have said her explanation. I don't know how just to correctly reflect it factually. That's the only thing. We might agree with Mr. Mokoena. We don't agree with what she said, but she wasn't silent on the issue.
Chair, if we can go back to the evidence and find that she said something or did something, then perhaps that point is correct. She didn't say a single thing. She didn't do a single thing.
Yeah, it's factual.
It's a fact.
No.
We'll do the verification. Unfortunately, we don't have the capacity now. We're trying to look for it.
Yeah. Now I was saying that maybe let's try to go back to the records, Chair, and so that whatever that we put is really informed by what is in the record. So I think I will support the Honorable Mokoena, but going back to the record is important. Let's go to the record. Let's get the facts proper.
The sooner we do it, the better, because we'll be coming back to the same thing for the fourth time. Is that correct? All right, we will go and we'll try and look for the words. But honourable members, it's really becoming a to and fro and to and fro. I want to repeat, we're never going to get to what everybody agrees to in the wording, but we must try and get at some point. Cindy's trying to look for it. We'll hope, just put a question mark on there. We'll try and come back to it to see if there's any evidence this way or that way on that one. We'll come back to it. That's 1711, eh? 18, is there any point? On point 18. Point 18? Point 19. This is where we must start fighting. Because there was the argument about we're not going to bring portfolio committee matters here, and there's an argument that you can't reflect or collective responsibility. Let's first look at the wording, because it's going to be either we take out point 1 or point 2. It's going to be as brutal as that. Let's look at just the wording. We're not saying do you agree or you disagree. The wording, the committee notes the extent to which the portfolio committee may have relinquished its constitutional duty to hold the executive and consecutive SAB boards to account, full stop. This may have rendered the portfolio committee complicit in the gradual decline of good governance, accountability, and commitment to public broadcasting at the SABC. We are not asking whether you support it or not. Is that an accurate reflection of one argument?
Yes.
Thank you. The second one, the committee notes the extent to which the majority of the members of the portfolio committee may have relinquished their constitutional duty to hold the executive and consecutive SABC boards to account. This may have rendered the majority of the members of the portfolio committee complicit in the gradual, everything else remains the same. So the difference is argument 1 says portfolio committee, argument 2 says no, not portfolio committee, majority members of the portfolio committee. And that's where we reached a deadlock yesterday. I am looking to you as to how do you want to proceed. Do we want to give everybody another bite? Do we want to withdraw, or do we want to go straight to voting? That's how brutal it's going to be today, unfortunately. I'm just asking what process. Does everybody want to have another bite to substantiate their argument, or how do you want to do it? Just on that one. Let's take you and then take on yes.
Sure, Chair. I was the one who was quite adamant on this, so I'd like to substantiate my point further.
Let's see what other people are saying. Yours is to substantiate, yes. I was asking the point, so we'll allow you. She's suggesting that we allow everybody to substantiate. Yeah, those that want to, that's the point that I'm making. Yeah, we'll agree that when we substantiate how we do it, how do other people feel on this matter? Let's take Kubisa and then Kubisa Koza Mukwena. Everybody wants to talk on the way forward.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
On how we want to deal with it, or 30 seconds on the debate? How to deal with it. 30 seconds as to how to deal with it. Don't substantiate.
Chairperson.
No, I'm saying those that, hold on. Those that speak must not speak to the debate, they must speak to 30 seconds as to how to deal with it. Those that want to debate, if we get to that point, we'll debate. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Singh? Mr. Suarez?
Sure.
Do we want to debate it? All right. Right, not 2 minutes, it's too long. 2 minutes, it's fine. Let's give everybody 2 minutes. And if we've not reached consensus in 2 minutes, no, we will make the decision. There's deadlock breaking mechanisms. No. Where are we going to start?
Chairperson, may I take a point in limine?
Yeah, what is the point in limine?
The point in limine is, I just want to know, somebody must remind me, whether we received any evidence from anybody on this particular matter, whether it was from Portfolio Committee records, from anybody who came and gave us evidence, before we make a finding of who said what, whether it's a majority of the members or whether it's the committee as a whole. Did we receive any evidence before us here to this, which speaks to this point? That's what I want to know first, before I comment on the wording. Thank you.
Okay. Cindy indicates that the board members, a board member at least, raised it. And speaking on my feet, I think the SABC 8 at some point said, but Parliament failed us. I think they said. So it was put in the table, the fact that Parliament could have done more. Okay? Say again? No. I'm saying that the SABC 8, at least one person referred to Parliament not having done its duty. And Lubisi also raised it. So to answer your question, sir, it was put before us. Now that it was put before us, we tried to capture it in draft 1 or draft wherever. It was challenged. We are now at the point where we've got 2. Do you want to start the debate? Yes. All right. If you want to start the debate, it's fine. Can we agree that Can we agree that everybody will be given 2 minutes to make their point? And hopefully we'll reach consensus. If after 3 minutes we haven't reached consensus, we are going to vote by show of hands. All right.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think we deal with information that was presented before us. And through information received, it is very clear that the Committee of Parliament and Parliament in general was identified to have failed, neither to deal with the challenges of the board or to deal with problems that the staff at SABC, in particular the SABC 8, were affected. Parliament failed, in fact, the Portfolio Committee failed to deal with issues of a MOI that was amended. Parliament failed to deal with issues of members of the board were removed by the executive authority, and those reports, it came to attention that were submitted to the Portfolio Committee. And therefore, in our record, as far as our observation, Chair, you'll know that we have noted not once but many times that the Portfolio Committee and Parliament has failed. And we have agreed in principle, in fact, that the Committee of Parliament failed. And at no point that chair will want now to separate. Unless if evidence was put before, this committee will have invited the portfolio committee to come and give evidence to the committee. Then we'll have understood the fact that some members of the committee were in disagreement and those who have agreed. So therefore, Chair, the issue does not hold water. The issue that we must stick with, which has been a principle that we have agreed upon, is that Parliament and the Parliament Committee has failed to defend and to protect SABC. It's not got nothing to do with individual or majority of members. It's about the committee. Parliament operate with its committees and the Committee of Parliament, and in that fact, there's no majority and minority report that we have come across.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kosa.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the insertion of majority of members is tantamount to manipulating evidence. We are here putting together the observations according to what was presented to us as members. That which has been presented now as a fact that belong to the Portfolio Committee on Communication can be debated or can be put, its correct perspective can be put in the House when we are debating this report. I honestly don't believe that it belongs here, and I do think that right from the beginning, you will recall that we had a problem with members who are direct members of the portfolio committees to serve in this committee, because we were worried that those people are going to be conflicted and they would start importing whatever discussion that they had there. And yet this is a separate entity from the Portfolio Committee on Communication. I'm therefore appealing members that let's put aside, we are not disputing the facts that you may have, but all we are saying is that inserting majority of members is tantamount to manipulating or distorting evidence, because that is not what was presented to us. I remember very well, Ms. Kubule said Parliament failed us. She never said the majority of members, and I will not accept any distortions. Thank you.
Okay. Your 2 minutes starts now, sir.
Thanks, Chair.
I beg your pardon, ma'am. Sorry.
I don't mind. I know. I look like
No.
At least I have a voice like a man, so you don't have to worry.
Chair, Parliament relies on its committees to do oversight. So every time Parliament is accused to have done something, my understanding is that the delegated committee has not done its work. Ours is to promote unity. And if you promote unity in any structure, you don't single out individuals. But if there's failure of a particular structure, you attribute that to the structure. It is on that basis that I support option 1. Because whatever argument transpired when a decision has been taken in any structure, or be it a meeting or what, it binds everybody. So because the committee failed to do this, everybody in the committee came to the committee with a view and they ended up with a decision. So I support the first option. Thanks.
Chair, we have conventions. You know, the minority voted the US president into power. The people of the US have voted Trump as president. It's a convention. When we pass budget, in most cases, EFF would oppose all budgets. And when we say, no, we take money from your salary, they go to court. Because they know that budget was passed for a purpose. So we must face one direction and follow convention. And therefore, coming up with a minority proposal or decision would be inappropriate. We don't have that evidence in front of us, except a member who participates in that portfolio. Unfortunately, some of us do not even know anything except what we have. But this committee has not received anything from anybody except honorable member colleague who participates in the portfolio. So, convention stands, but Parliament failed us in this regard, and therefore proposal number 1 stands, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would like to align myself to the option 1. I just wanted to suggest that we expand it a little further.
No.
Reference to the National Assembly.
No, honourable members, we read this thing out and we said, are we happy with the wording? Once we start changing the wording, it means I must start the debate over again.
Okay.
As it is, are you happy with it? Can you start again? Yeah.
I will motivate for
Later on, yeah.
adoption
Yeah.
of option 1. The reason being that we have had court rulings on what Parliament did and did not do. In those court rulings, there were no individuals or parties singled out. It was Parliament that failed in its oversight role. I would like to refer to the section in the Constitution as far as that is concerned, because I think we should stick to what the Constitution expects of us. There are different mechanisms, Chairperson, that also find its way in our National Assembly rules. The issue is those members who felt that there was something seriously wrong did not exploit all the mechanisms in our rules. That includes motions, petitions, and all of that could have been utilized to bring matters to the attention. So I think we must accept Parliament failed, in particular the Portfolio Committee did not do its work effectively, and we must accept that in the same breath that we accept when the court and the Constitutional Court said to us as Parliament, you failed in your oversight duty as per the Constitution. So I would like to support option 1. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Number 1, we don't have any evidence coming from the Portfolio Committee. But the convention is that parliaments work through portfolio committees. So we're not privy to any evidence coming from the Portfolio Committee. Be that as it may, having done all, having finished our product, Parliament, through and also the Portfolio Committee has got to implement whatever findings that we have. Therefore, I believe that the issue of a majority can be taken further to a point when we debate. At this point in time, it is my strongest belief that we have to come strongly on Parliament and also the Portfolio Committee to say Parliament failed us. And with the evidence that we have at our disposal, I believe we can go with option 1.
Chair, the initial formulation was a reference to the Portfolio Committee, and I would have initially supported number 1. But when one hears that there were members that objected at length to what was going on, and in fact went to court and fought the issues, then one does need some explanation that it wasn't every member on that Portfolio Committee. So that's why I would support version 2. But you see, Chair, you've not allowed an amendment. But and I appreciate the difficulty on that. But if one could say, in version 1, you say notwithstanding the efforts of certain members of that committee, then it does put in that there were certain objections. And that would be a compromise.
That defeats the object. That defeats it. We are now saying, put your head on the block.
Okay, Chair. Number 2 then for me.
Thank you. Honourable Mokoena.
No, the principle of democracy in general, and I think in particular democratic centralism, dictates that even us as the EFF who do not recognize the president of the country, we are still subjected to his decisions, purely because the majority has spoken. And I think also there's a conflict of interest here in that the Madam Van Dam, being a member of that committee, I think if she had said that we should have the committee to give evidence, Because if we say the majority, then we must explain through evidence which majority, who disputed the findings or who disputed the decisions. We must then go back to that because we don't have evidence. And I go back to the argument that I made earlier on. It's a political argument that we're making here. This is an argument that we should be making in the National Assembly, to say this has happened because we said this in the portfolio committee. And I think we must make a distinction between the two.
Chairperson, the reason why this committee has worked well is because we've sided with the truth, we've sided with what is just, and we've sided with principle. The principle here, I'm going to call a spade, is that ANC members of the portfolio committee blocked repeatedly over a space of 2 years efforts by members of the opposition to hold the SABC accountable. That might have not been presented to this committee as evidence, but it was dealt with in the House. It's in public record. It was dealt with in court. Members of the DA have worked hard to try and have the SABC held accountable. Motions, statements, we went to court and spent millions to have the SABC held account. So the fact that there's even this inquiry is because I pushed for it in that committee. So to be told now that I must be accountable for what members of the ANC did, not a chance.
Yeah. Obviously, Chair, I'm supporting the second option. Firstly, if I can just clarify some matters. When we vote in committee on a bill and we come to the House, it doesn't mean we have to support that bill in the House. So we're not bound by the decisions of a committee. The majority may have supported a particular view. It doesn't mean the minority has to go along with it. And also individual rights, quite frankly. We're here as individuals, first and foremost, as the Constitution says. So, secondly, if you want to talk about manipulation and distorting of the facts, what you're trying to do, and I'm talking to Dr. Khoza in particular, raised the issue, is trying to paint every single member of that portfolio with the same brush. You're trying to group everyone together saying they all acted in the same way, they're all derelict in their duty when they weren't. There were some outstanding MPs on that committee that tried to hold the majority to account and tried to... do you mind? Chair, can I be protected? Eh? Right? I didn't interrupt the doctor when she spoke. Right? You had some outstanding... are you going to...
Hold on.
If I what?
Hold on. I will rule both of you out. Honourable Khoza. Honourable Khoza.
The truth hurts.
You know what? Can I ask all members to talk through me? Because you just degenerate these things when you start talking to each other. Yes, sir.
Chair, the truth hurts. The fact is, I'll put it to you that the ANC is trying to manipulate and distort evidence before it. They know full well that some of the members acted in good faith in that committee and tried to push the committee to hold the SABC to account. And the majority of members, which came from the ANC, we all know that, were there to protect the minister and whoever else they were there to protect. And they were derelict in their duty, and that is what we've got to put into this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kwankwa.
Hey, Chairperson, kandi nkonbani yakwazulu anhandi. Molweni. Ndiyothuka bentingani kwazulu anamda wodwa. Well, the issue here, Chairperson, is that while I sympathize with Honourable Van Dam, but I think as a committee we find ourselves in a very difficult position because now we are being asked to make a recommendation that reflects on the political dynamics of that committee, which we are not aware of at this point in time. As a person who does not sit in that committee, I am not aware of those things. I might have seen one or two incidents where they disagreed, like in any other portfolio committee, but I don't think I've considered any tangible evidence or proof of that happening. I'm not disputing that it indeed happened. But I think, Chairperson, remember when you started here, until I was very divisive with my Saudi story, you were very united, and I'm surprised now that you're not so united, but I'm glad I'm not the cause of that division. But the point I want to make, Chairperson, is that to the people of South Africa, what are we? We're Parliament. We're not DA, we're not IFP, we're not EFF, we're Parliament. Right? I know that's how democracy works, you're right. But even the board members said Parliament failed us. They didn't identify certain members of portfolio committees and say so and so failed us. And if, for an example, we were to rectify all the wrongs or the mistakes that we've made in that committee, we have to take collective responsibility as leaders. What? No. You see, Bakalile. Chairperson, I think, remember, Honorable Fana Mokwena is spot on in saying that what Honorable Van Dam is saying is a political debate. It must be said in the House, right? Without us having evidence to consider and make a finding on it or a recommendation on it, it remains a political argument, unfortunately. Thank you.
Yeah, Chairperson, you said earlier on, when asked your pointed question, what is the evidence before this committee? The evidence before this committee is that some in the SABC 8, whoever they are, and a few others came along and said to us, Parliament may have failed us, or Parliament has failed us, right, by not doing A, B, or C. Why then are we having this kind of one or two option here when we talk about the portfolio committee may have done? We're making a finding, we're making a recommendation under observation. We should merely observe here that the committee notes that members, whatever they are from the SABC 8 and others, indicated that Parliament has failed us in doing whatever. And that's the end of the story, and that's factual. Whether it's the portfolio, they didn't mention portfolio committee. We are bringing in portfolio committee through the back door, the front door. They mentioned Parliament failed us. And if they say Parliament, it's collective responsibility. I'm a member of Parliament. So in their minds, they're suggesting that all of us failed them, and we have to note that. And under recommendations, we will make a recommendation specific to the role of the portfolio committee. So I don't think there's one or two here. We're missing the wood for the trees. Thank you.
All right. I allowed everybody to speak. I mean, the rules are very clear on these things. I could have suppressed all these things via the rules. But because we want to educate as we go along, I allowed everybody to speak. Also, the only part that I want to raise, first of all, I support option 1, because the Constitution puts the obligation on Parliament to hold the executive and others to account. The Constitution doesn't say portfolio committee or portfolio committee. When it has failed, it is Parliament that has failed. That's the Constitution. And I'm not going to get into all the other debates. I just thought I must raise that so that we must be consistent, that we must, as we've always been saying, let's base it on rules, regulations, or whatever. Let's be consistent throughout. So there it is, honourable members. It is very clear from the debates and discussions, unless you want to do it formally. And if you want to do it formally, there are 2 members that are not allowed to raise their hands. I think it's Swartz and Kubisha, I think, in terms of I beg your pardon, Kwankwa and Swartz, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are 11 of us. All those that are in favor of option number 1, could you please indicate by raising your hands that you are in favor of option 1? Option number 1. Okay. No, that's fine. 1, 2, 3. Okay, are you counting? Okay. All right. All those that are in favor of option number 2. All those that are in favor of option number 3. Of abstention.
Chair, I don't agree to either of the options because I said it should be Parliament. Right, from the evidence that we received. I said it's Parliament, we should note the evidence that we received as a matter of fact instead of voting for 1 or 2. But we can change that to Parliament may have failed. And that's what I would go for. So I won't vote on either option 1 or 2. unless you change the wording.
That's an insertion.
No. When we started, we had these two options. I think, what is going to happen is when we give you this report after an hour or so, we're going to show it as we had it here. Because I asked, and maybe you said so, Mr. Singh, and others didn't. At that point, we can then move it to Parliament if you want to move it to Parliament. But as the vote was as it stands now. So this is what we're going to reflect. And if people want to clean it up, commas, full stops or whatever, later on they can do that. I think that's fair, because if I open it up now, it means we must go through this process and the debate again. Just for the word portfolio committee or Parliament.
No, Chair, I think the voting thing here was about whether it's the collective or the whatever. And I think, so in that case, then it would mean that Honorable Kwangwa and Singh are abstaining. Honorable Singh is abstaining. Then the discussion would then be, in the collective, do we say portfolio committee or do we say Parliament? Because that's another discussion that we must have.
All right. We are, in the first instance, we are deleting option 2. Who's saying Chairperson? Kwangwa. Yes, Baba.
So we must know that the minute we say Parliament, the minute we say Parliament, that also has implications for the second sentence. That Parliament may have rendered itself complicit in gradual decline of what. So I'm just saying.
For the first part, we were deciding which of those two. Now people wanted to discuss whether it was the portfolio committee that we must insert or whether it's parliamentary that must insert. When we brought it to you, we said the portfolio committee. If the collective wants to change it to Parliament, do so. If you want to leave it as it is, do so. Can we discuss, the only thing I'm opening up for now for the next 2 minutes is whether we use the word portfolio committee or we use the word Parliament. If you don't want to speak on this matter, don't raise your hand. I'll recognize Honorable Mukwena, and then it will be followed by Honorable Swartz, and then the Professor, and then Killian. Okay, we'll just go for Mukwena, Swartz, Mukwena, Swartz, Professor, Killian, Doctor, you want to speak? Koza, Chauke, Singh, and Kwangwa. And yeah, Mukwena.
No,
very briefly, 1 minute, Baba.
Yeah, portfolio committee is a component of Parliament. I think there's no sense in us separating portfolio committee as if Parliament is. So I think I would support that we say Parliament, because then it puts us all in responsibility. We as the committee ourselves were responsible. Thanks.
It's not a major difference, but we've referred to the portfolio committee the whole way through this report. And so I would prefer to leave it as portfolio committee, because that's where the central responsibility lies. But I'm neither here nor there when it comes to it at the end of the day, because the resolutions of the portfolio committee would have been accepted by Parliament as well.
Chairperson, I just want to preamble with my position with the Nkandla judgment, where the High Court referred to the Parliament that failed in its duty, and therefore I say therefore there's no harm putting in Parliament instead of, because portfolio committee is an element of Parliament. Thank you.
Chairperson, I would like to support the insertion of the word Parliament. Obviously, we could have said the National Assembly, because we're a committee of the National Assembly, but as one of the two houses of Parliament, obviously. But remember, a portfolio committee has no final say. It is Parliament that is held accountable in terms of the Constitution, and specifically in Section 55, we have specific responsibility to exercise oversight, and we have failed to do that in terms of Section 55 to sub B. So I think, in terms of that constitutional responsibility, we failed. So I don't know if members have any preference for the reference to the National Assembly or Parliament, but we can stick with Parliament, that's fine, thank you.
Chair, the ANC cannot resist logic and sense, even if it comes from the EFF, and therefore I want to align myself with Mokoena.
Chairperson, it's the 400 members of the National Assembly, so which is Parliament, what constitutes Parliament. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine. So we agree with which include all of us. Parliament chair is the National Assembly. Is the 400 members of the National Assembly that constitute Parliament. Yeah, well, obviously, in the NCOP, that's correct. We can add, and the 90 members of the NCOP.
Chairperson, I want to suggest the following. After notes, we delete everything from the to the word committee, and we add evidence which suggests that Parliament. That's it. And then in the third line, this may, okay, just that Parliament. All right, and then we continue with that. And then in the third line, we say this may have rendered Parliament instead of portfolio complicit. That's my proposal, Chair.
I can see the ANC really wants us to stew in their chakalaka soup. All right, no problem. You can heckle me, it's all right. I'll heckle you back. Well, Section 55, indeed, I want to agree with Honorable Killian. That remember, if you look at the Constitution, the Section 55, 2A, it says it's Parliament that must provide for mechanisms to sort of to ensure that they hold the executive to account, including organs of state, if you look at 51, 55, 2A and B. Now, if those mechanisms fail, it's Parliament that has failed, right? It's not just the portfolio committee, so it means it's back to the drawing board for all of us, rather than just reflecting negatively on our colleagues, which is a portfolio committee. Remember, as a parting judge chairperson, all those reports, the reports of committees come before Parliament. We adopt them in Parliament. Even if you're not sitting in the committee, nothing stops you from reading reports of committees, reading reports and annual reports of the different state organs, and then reflect on them and make proposals about how to take the process forward. So we can't deflect it and say Mayambe Kubanyama. Siakub.
Siakub. All right. We are going to go with option number 1. Option number 2 is expunged from the report. And where we have portfolio committee, we will change it to mean Parliament. Let me just read it. Evidence would suggest that Parliament may have relinquished its constitutional duty to hold the executive and consecutive SABC boards to account, full stop. This may have rendered Parliament complicit in the gradual decline of good governance, accountability and commitment to public broadcasting at the SABC. That's what we will reflect when you get it back later on. Again, you can refine it when you get to it. Do you want to talk to this point, man? No, hold on. I want to understand why. We've just taken a decision on this point. A proposal. Yes, ma'am.
Chair, I don't know if we've taken minutes of the proceedings. Could it please be clear in those minutes recording the DA's objection to absolving members of the majority from responsibility?
No, we won't do that. You can do that in the National Assembly. Because we haven't taken Honorable Van Dam. There are transcripts but we have not taken minutes for the past 3 months. We have but we have not adopted minutes for the past 3 months. They are there. So, as it has been done for the last 3 months, they are there, but we're certainly not going to go and record it in this meeting. No, I'm saying in the report. In the proceedings, yes, people will be able to go through the proceedings, and there were many instances where we've differed. So, because I think the point that is trying to be made is that single us out having been opposed. That will be done in the proceedings when we wrap it up, or if somebody wants to learn from the proceedings. Separate issue. I did, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Chair, we're shifting now with the wording from we noting as the committee to evidence suggests, and it's a major shift. And so that we need to understand, because the wording now is that there is evidence suggests, and the committee is not expressing its view. Whilst the present formulation that we agreed upon after the vote was that the committee notes. And so there is a fundamental shift that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, you guys make our life. Okay, is this good enough for us? It's fine, because we want to clean it up. The committee acknowledges that evidence. If we start with that, would that satisfy you, Mr. Swartz?
Putting it on the evidence and not on what we're saying. We concur with the evidence, or we note the evidence, or we said notes the extent. You see, there's a subtle difference in wording now that we're just referring to the evidence as opposed to us. And so we need to make it slightly stronger if the committee wants to express itself on that. And I think we do.
No, I think...
Note the extent.
No, I'm not going to lie any more hands. We're going to run it as it is. Remember, honourable members, we've said that you'll get another bite just now when we've cleaned it up. Cindy and I can't be changing what everybody's editing. We just can't. You'll get the report as it is now, and Honourable Swartz's views will be argued then, and everybody else's views. Otherwise, honourable members, we're spending valuable time arguing about things that, for me, don't make a major difference, because the sentiment that we are expressing, nobody's disputing. Can we close it at that? Thank you. You will have another bite of it. Honourable, there's nobody else that had a suggestion that we needed to clean up? No. No, there was no option 3. I
raised my hand.
You wanted to raise your hands. Yeah, what is your option 3, Bob? Honourable members, that comes to the end of introduction, body, and recommendations. Not recommendations, observations. We are not visiting it ever again in terms of going bit by bit. We will adopt it later on after we've taken the way forward and after Cindy's an opportunity to clean it up as the product that is going to go out from this committee. Thank you very much, and it would be a miss, honourable members, if we went through this whole process without some politicking. It would have just been a miss. So I'm not fussed that there were some political views expressed, because otherwise it would have sounded too good to be true. We are politicians, you're right. Now let's get on to the second part. Honourable members will recall that yesterday there was Honourable Killian, I think, introduced a recommendation on the recommendations, and we had a big discussion about it. The long and short of it, honourable members, is in what form do we send out our draft report? Do we send it off, ending where we've just ended now, or do we send it off including recommendations? That is the question before the committee. We had asked the legal unit of Parliament to go and do some work and come back and at least brief us so that we are on the straight and narrow. Thereafter, members will discuss, taking into account what has come from the legal matter. Mr. Waters had asked that we have at least something before us before we discuss, and that's why we postponed it until now. I'm assuming everybody has got a document that starts with generally. Everybody's got that document. that's the document that you will talk to. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning again. Just a disclaimer that those are really very rough notes that I did very late last night and really wasn't meant for circulation. So there are grammatical errors, and it's basically just for me to look at. So in light of the time constraints that I had, there was no time to consult, and there was also not much precedent that we could find. So I confined my consideration to what is set out in the Ellen Shabalala case. And I hope that at the end of my presentation, the committee would be in a position to decide which of the two options, again, it would prefer to go with. The bottom line, as I said earlier, is that we should not be seen to be prejudging the matter. Now, in this inquiry, which was an inquisitorial inquiry, there were several witnesses, and during the course of this inquiry, these witnesses have come here to state their case, or rather to express certain cogent and comprehensive allegations that are made against the board. And in so doing, there may have been factual information or evidence given during this process, which others may wish to dispute. There may also be opinion evidence that has been presented during the course of this hearing, which could be disparaging to others. So the purpose of, or the object of making the report available is to allow these persons who may be affected an opportunity to make representations or to refute those submissions that were made. In the Shabalala case that I referred to, there was a prescribed procedure by virtue of the fact that in the notice it indicated how the matter would unfold and what was going to be presented at the end of the hearing in terms of process to the affected person. Bearing in mind that in the Shabalala judgment, the barometer was expressly stated as being fairness and the right to have an opportunity to rebut the evidence, the requirement for this committee is to place as full a picture as possible before those persons who may be affected. And in the Shabalala case again, this was identified as the causes, the nature, and the extent of the violations that are found. I'd like to quote from paragraph 14 of Shabalala, where the court says, I accept that the findings, and in our case it would obviously our observations, I accept that the findings of the second respondent sitting as the committee may have far-reaching consequences, even removal from office. Affected persons would be excluded from the second stage of the process, that is the debate in the National Assembly, leading to the adoption of a resolution. Now, this committee has not yet considered the consequences. There are these preliminary rough recommendations, but that is, in my view, what is referred to as the consequences of the findings, which this committee has called the observations. And therefore, although the process is slightly different, it's 15A1 in the Shabalala case, although it's slightly different, I think there is an analogy that one can draw, and that the same requirements for fairness does prevail here. In the Shabalala case, it's also stressed that the principles of fairness doesn't require the same standard or the same extent in every situation. In this case, most of the affected people, or all the affected people, were here as witnesses, or indeed were invited or had an opportunity to make representations. And this is the basis on which the committee has proceeded so far, which is by the very nature what an inquisitorial process is about. And you know, it is quite important that we look at what is going to be fair and not to be seen to be prejudging the matter. So to avoid prejudgment, in my view, to have a debate on the recommendations would be quite problematic, because what we are still seeking to do is to get more information before this committee by virtue of the rebuttals that we are now inviting. I have drawn analogies there with, on the one hand, disciplinary hearings where the whole analysis of evidence, if you like, and the findings are made known to the affected person before a sanction is decided on, because that would ultimately, the right to be heard at that stage would then inform the sanction. And I do accept that that analogy is not a perfect analogy. We have the opposite end of the scale with the public protector. By virtue of the statutory power that the public protector has, goes to the other extreme of providing what that office deems appropriate, and it may be then even the draft recommendations. In my view, because in the absence of precedent, the closest analogy is how committees generally operate in Parliament. And how committees generally operate is to deliberate, to make, to receive inputs, to consider the inputs before it recommends in a report to the NA its final decision or recommendations. And that is because it is informed by submissions. Yeah, and meaningful opportunity really in terms of, in case law, means that you must have all the facts before you, consider all the facts before you make a decision that's going to some extent inform the process that will be binding at the end of the process. This is the start of such a process. So in short, if the preliminary recommendations are fully ventilated before we receive all the submissions, it could be it could be seen as having prejudged the matter. So I hope that that provides some basis for the committee to make the call. Sorry, I don't know if my colleague would like to add anything. No.
Thank you very much. We asked the legal team to give us an indication. They have done that. Once again, as members of committee, we're going to have to pin our colors to the mast, I guess, because we can't continue to be a debating society. We have to take a decision. We'll go through the same process, and if needs be, when we get to do we or don't we send out recommendations, we'll go through the process of voting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, I'm trying to understand the hands at the... No, before I was about to say we're going to start here, but I thought Mr. Waters wanted to do... I thought he wanted clarity of some sort before, or...
Maybe you can give us guidance. Are we going to ask questions of clarity first before we get into the principles of the matter, or we're just going into the principle? I would like clarity first.
I don't know if you want to take questions of clarity. I thought the legal team said because of the time frames, it was not well researched and that type of things. I don't want to put you on the spot at one point, because clearly I can almost second guess, or I would have asked the question. I'm saying if I was asking, I could have asked all sorts of questions because my lawyer might have a different view. I don't want us to waste time, honourable members. I don't want us to waste time. Parliament allows a committee to decide on how it's going to do its business. We were just trying to make sure that we do our business without doing obviously wrong things. We just wanted to have some sort of guidance in terms of how we did our business. I'm looking at you. Do you want to take questions of clarity? Because that could take another whole day. I'm looking at members. Do we want to open for questions of clarity? Mr. In their bite they can ask questions. No. Our general attitudes, and then people can ask afterwards. All right. Okay. We're going to give each other 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Because remember we had said that we want to be done by 11 o'clock so that we can allow the cleaning up. Honorable, we'll start this side this time, and we will go all the way around. We'll end there. And as in the beginning, all members will get 2 minutes. Honorable Singh, starting now.
Thank you, Chairperson. You know, we will get as many views as there are lawyers. And that is why we have courts, and that's why we have judges and magistrates to determine the final outcome of any matter. So I think for now, let's accept the bona fides of the advice that has been given and placed before us, because these are advocates of the High Court and attorneys and whatever else. Having said that, Chair, in half a minute, the concern for me is a political concern first, but then I'll come to what the factual point is from our side. Is, you know, we've come with this process now for 3 months or so. You said so earlier. And throughout the process, it has been emphasized that we will deal with everything, including recommendations, then give it to the people that came and gave evidence before us to comment, and then we will look at those comments, and then eventually we will decide on our firm recommendations to put forward to Parliament. Now, I think the political concern is why this about turn yesterday, after 3 months of us dealing with it. So it's a political question, and I think our colleagues need to give us an answer on that, particularly our colleagues from the majority party. But having said that, Chair, you know, we've reached a stage where we've come to observations. These observations are based on testimony that we have sort of analyzed. And I think it may be fair that we give those people that we've referred to in this report up to this point an opportunity to express themselves on the veracity of the content of this document. Otherwise, if we start going then to making recommendations and they come along and say, but I didn't say A, B, or C, which you state in your document, then it puts us into question the credibility. So I would say, let's give them an opportunity. Let's stop at observations and consider recommendations as a committee and Parliament later on. Thank you, sir.
Chairperson, you are the politician, please. You called us opportunistic when we tried to change the program midstream. Angiti, Nati Kwankwa Ulauleki, and so on. Now ANC Alaulek. But let me go back. No, I'm serious. No, you see about Kalilins about Howlanam. I'll bring UDM supporters to hold them back. The issue, Chairperson, indeed I hear what the advocate is saying, insofar as saying that we'll be prejudging the matter, but I think if we're to put recommendations in the report, but I think a counter-argument can be put. One that says, at least we are saying to the people that to which we are sending the report, to whom we're sending the report, that on the basis of the evidence that we've considered, we've also considered your testimony. This is what we'd recommend as a course of action, right? Now, we're giving you an opportunity to give us, if there's new information that you can give us, which might end up changing our position on the matter. This is what we recommend as a course of action. So by us putting or including the recommendations in the report that we send out, we'll be giving them what the advocate said, a full picture of what the contents of the report firstly are and what course of action as a committee we're proposing. But in light of what she also said towards the end, saying that we'll be prejudging the matter, let us allow the recommendations to be influenced by it. I'm really not married to us sending out the report with the recommendations per se, but I think it could also be argued that it would also work in the favor of the people who are implicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm deeply concerned about the advice we've been given today. In the advocate's own words, no consultation, not much evidence could be found. And then I think in your words, it wasn't a thorough job. I think you said something like that. And I don't think it would hold much muster in court, quite frankly. And I think what I'm concerned is that this advice is going to sway the committee to vote one way or another. So I think we're going to be heading for legal battles, quite frankly. But nevertheless, the advocate said that, well, it was raised the fact that we can't discuss the recommendations, but the fact is we already have. We already have. It's in the public domain. So I don't know what this exercise is, and I agree with Honourable Singh. This is a political matter. The members have obviously got instruction from LH, the Tuli House, to do certain things, and they're doing it. And that's what this all boils down to. That's why at the 11th hour they were told to put this on the table, quite frankly. But for me, the report is a draft report. Even the recommendations in that report will be draft recommendations. And I think in the principle of fairness, we have to put the recommendations in that report in order for the people who are going to respond not only to what we have stated about them under findings and other things in the report, but also under what our recommendations are going to be. And that gives them the full picture of what we are thinking. They can respond in full, and if needs be, then we change the recommendations. It doesn't mean it's cast in stone, and I don't think it undermines our work at all. In fact, I think it's more credibility to what we're doing in this House. But I do take umbrage to the political U-turn by the ANC at the last minute, Chair. I really do. It undermines everything we've done in this committee.
Thanks, Chair. I am severely disappointed in the legal advisors. Up to now, they've conducted themselves with integrity. They've given us sound legal advice, sound research legal advice. By their own admissions, they've given us something badly written and not thought out, and at their own admission, something that they haven't put the right amount of work in it, and now we're expected to rely on this to make a judgment. It wouldn't be the first time Parliament's been given bad legal advice, and this is very bad legal advice. Number one, the Chabalala case, nowhere in that case does it say that recommendations must be sent without, that a report must be sent with observations without recommendations. The Dupria case that we mentioned, the Dupria case dealt with the TRC. This is not the TRC. It's an entirely different process from the TRC, so you cannot base that on this process. I asked for two things yesterday. Give me evidence of where Parliament, number one, sent a report for input to the people who are being investigated. That has never happened. Number two, I said give me evidence of where Parliament has sent a report without recommendations to a party. They did not do that because it doesn't exist. When Parliament does its work, when it does inquiries, when it does its reports, the reports are finished with recommendations and then put out for comment. If anyone has a problem with those reports, they are welcome to take them on review. This is nothing but a political ploy to shield people from accountability. We have discussed recommendations at length, and it makes zero sense why now at the 11th hour suddenly we shouldn't do recommendations when we've been doing it all along. It is political.
No, thanks, Chair. Look, I think we must first note the hijack that happened yesterday. The fact that it came out of absolutely nowhere when there was an agreement from the word go, as Honorable Ngwangwa said. But having said that, I think there's also the responsibility of Parliament to be fair. And I think in fairness, it does make sense that we must allow people to make their inputs. That we must make them, the recommendations are are public. We know what they are. Everybody knows. But but for us to then take them out formally is to, I think, is to then make a formal prejudgment. And I think there's that argument to be made. And in the spirit of that, everybody knows what we think in terms of recommendations. But those recommendations are still draft, and they will be changed as and according to, they will change as according to the evidence that we have received in full. And therefore, I would suggest that we do give everybody a chance to look at the evidence, to give comment, and then when they're done, then we will formalize the recommendations, having had full evidence. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we need to bear in mind, as a lawyer, it's very difficult overnight to give a fully comprehensive legal opinion. So I want to just defend the lawyers as well. It's tough, and to expect them, so that's the first point. I argued very strongly that one can send out the recommendations with a caveat that this is an interim report, these are preliminary recommendations subject to any submissions that may be received by affected parties, that there could be amendments. So I think that could have covered us. And Mr. Kwankwa makes the valid point that we might also aggravate the situation by not including the recommendations. However, having read this legal opinion, and I would always approach matters to err on the side of caution. So if there is a question as to whether we've been fair and just, besides what happened yesterday, I would err on the side of caution and say we'll rather not send out the recommendations if our parliamentary legal advisors have said that it could result in ammunition being given to those that want to take the matter on review. We will see politically going forward how strong our recommendations come out. And that we might all be surprised from yesterday. I would have liked it all to be finalized, but I think that hopefully we will see the majority party coming out very stronger on the recommendations, considering the fact that this has all been in the public domain. Thank you, Chairperson. Oh, I thought you said time's up. So.
No, Chair, let me first and foremost explain from our side that we were so much worried when there was a U-turn after all along we had a process that was going on, and the process indicating that we'll be having the recommendations and we send them to those people that were affected. But of course, we accepted on the basis that the legal advice was going to come back to us as it has come, although there's an admission that this legal advice was done in a rush. Having said that, we are dealing with an inquiry here, as provided in Section 55 of the Constitution, whereby Parliament has got to provide mechanisms for oversight. And of course, Parliament will do something in Section 56 after we have conducted this inquiry. And of course, this is also covered in Section 15 of the Broadcasting Act. And our concern seems to be political, that there was a change of mind somehow. But nevertheless, in order to consider the Audi Oderam Paltem rule, it is patently clear that we do need to give the other side an opportunity to have a voice and to say something on the recommendations. It is therefore proper that we give the affected parties so that they will say something on the recommendations. After then, we'll give to Parliament to exercise its mandate in line with the Constitution and in line with the Broadcasting Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would like to first of all admit that I threw the cat amongst the pigeons yesterday. I had no instruction from nowhere, but I was considering the position of the committee and its report, and I wanted to make sure that at that stage we've gone through it very systematically. And we want to table our report on the 28th. And there was a concern because where do you stop the process of consultation? If we now put out the recommendations out there and people comment on the recommendations and we adjust the recommendations, whenever will you stop it? Because if you adjust one, then you have to resend it out again to consult everybody again. So the point is, you consult on the basis of your findings and the evidence that you have gathered. And you say to those affected parties, based on this, did we miss anything seriously? Do you want to submit further evidence, not new evidence, but to say your deduction made in this report is wrong? Because this is what I said. So you do that, you don't go to the recommendations. We as Parliament, in terms of the Constitution, we chart our own rules and we develop our own processes. The fact is, and I really want to distance myself from comments made by Honourable Van Damme. I think it's wrong. You don't tackle any other players in this room. You can tackle politicians, but don't tackle the legal services. We have to charter new ground. The Chabalala case was a different case. It was altogether different. So you can't also, we are charting new ground and we are saying it's safer for Parliament to distribute, to say, correct our deductions made and our observations. We will make our own recommendations and we will come back to that process and we will surprise you. Thank you.
Chair, yesterday I referred to the AG's process, that when they are processing their interaction with the auditees, they actually, through the management letter, present a myriad of issues. But when you find the final report, you find something different. And I think it was the basis on which I was making my argument. But the second matter, Chair, when Parliament makes recommendations, those recommendations are going to Parliament. I mean, when a committee makes a recommendation, it's going to Parliament. If we agree on the recommendations here, which we can do, my suggestion would be that they don't go to the people, they go to Parliament directly, because we've concluded our work. And therefore, it is on the basis that, on those bases, I'm therefore saying, let us have our work with our findings going to those people upon whom we are making findings. But if we do take a complete report with recommendations, it goes directly to Parliament. After those people have commented on the current document, we're not going to have recommendations and send it back to them. No, it's going to direct to Parliament. And I think it's a simple procedure. And I think, and indeed, on my side, I take exception when people says, I got instructions from anybody, because I have not. I have not, and I think we should be responsible. We should not play to the gallery, because we will not say that to anyone else, unless if we know. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, we, throughout this process, we've been putting the staff members under pressure because we're working around the clock and expecting them to do miracles. So I just want to indicate that we have committed staff and we respect the work they are doing. Secondly, Chair, here we must work as a collective. To me, it's an anomaly for one to say, if things are not done my own way, then you threaten off courts. That's not how we do things. Let's argue our things here and resolve as we were doing throughout. The third issue is to say, who is it that Van Damme and Baba Waters want to impress by giving these recommendations? Because to me, when we are outlining why we are saying recommendations should not go, is something protecting us all here so that we are not seen as people who prejudged anyone, but we are allowing space so that when it's time for us to make recommendations, they are anchored on firm evidence. So I'm not happy with the attitude displayed, because as we go to the tail end of this process, there are people who want to emerge with trophies here, whereas we have all along been working as a committee. I add by saying, Chair, I support the view of the legal advisors. Thank you.
Chair, you know, the team here, the African National Congress team, is a fearless team. We fear nothing. And there is nobody who's going to stop us from making the recommendations we want to make. Secondly, I also want to say to those that suffer from this Luthuli House post-traumatic syndrome, we are not controlled. We are independent thinkers. And there is no way we can make observations and then turn around and make different recommendations that are not speaking to the observations. And finally, I think the DA separatist and this supremacist tendency, good Lord, must be defeated. It's so bad. It's so bad because all the time we work as a team, and all the time you always come in and you want to divide us. No, man, there is no need to be divided when we agree on major issues, and we agree. I don't know what's your problem. The only thing we are saying is that let's be fair. That's all we are saying. And I've been covered by Killian, I've been covered by the NFP, I've been covered by Nkwankwa. Ah, yes, you did. You covered me. You covered me. How? You covered me. And with your good English, you did cover me, Honorable Singh. Thank you.
No, Chairperson, thank you. I think we have given a task to the legal team. They've done their work, and I want to align myself with the work done. But just to make it very clear that the issue of dealing with the recommendation is going to be a public process again. We're not going to be hiding anything. I think the capacity that you see here from the ANC, it's a capacity that is ready to clean up SABC. That is why we have agreed with you from the start as we work on this process to the end. Our intention is nothing else, is to clean up the SABC, and we're going to do it together with you. We're going to clean up SABC. So therefore, come the time when we must now deal with the recommendation, then you will see the ANC.
Let's agree and disagree and be agreeable in disagreeing. Honorable members, this is one point I want to make. I think it's wrong, Ma'am Van Dam. I think it's very wrong to cast the kinds of aspersions you've cast on the lawyers. You can do that to all political parties, that's fine. And I'll tell you why I say I think you're wrong. All of us took a decision at about 5 o'clock last night. I don't know how then do we think between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock this morning, as Honorable Swartz has said, do we think that we will get something that is of top quality? Ours was to get guidance, and I'd been raising this thing even not only with the lawyers, but even with the Cindy and all her other team. You know, honorable members, we give them feedback at 8 o'clock. And then we come here at 6 o'clock in the morning and we criticize the grammar. And we criticize everything else because we think these are super people, and I think it's wrong. I really think it's wrong. You can look at me, you can do whatever. I think it is wrong that we sit here and expect other human beings to do what we ourselves can't do. And I think we must desist from that. The politics we must fight. So I want to, because I'm not going to allow you to respond, but I can't let it go that you walk out of here with your reputations and everything else in tatters, because these are people who got mothers and fathers and children, and they are being watched by all South Africans. It's just wrong. It is just wrong, honorable members. So we'll take it on your behalf because professional people's reputations have been put on the line. No. No. Honorable Waters. Honorable Waters. Honorable Waters, please don't mess it up. Please don't mess it up, sir. So I wanted to clear hers. Now that we've cleared it, or now that we've asked that you guys forgive us for what we're doing, the question before the House is, do we do recommendations, don't we do recommendations in our report? And I'm not saying do we or don't we, I'm saying when we send it out for comment, do we send it out up to part 4, or do we send it up, is it part 3? Part D, or do we send it out with part E? That's the question before the House. And once again, Honorable Kwankwa and Honorable Swartz, I don't know if you guys interchange in your voting or if you stick to alternate members you stick to our voting as it was. That's fine. So then we'd ask you not to participate. All those that are in favor of this report going out from part A up to part D, and for those that don't have the report, it means from the very beginning to the end of the observations. Please raise your hand. As cleaned up. As cleaned up, I beg your pardon. Please raise your hand. Will you count? Thank you. All those that are in favor of this report going out from part A to part E, meaning part E is recommendations, and they have not been cleaned up at this point, but we can talk about if we need to clean them up. All those in favor of the entire report going out, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. What will happen going forward, honorable members, is that, what's the time now? 11 o'clock, as we had said yesterday. How much time do you need? All right. It's 11 o'clock. I don't know if they've prepared lunch for you. They have. Can you make it now, or you have to wait for lunchtime? I don't know. All right. What is going to happen now is we're going to release Cindy and Gugu and everybody else that does the backroom work. We are going to release you now to go and clean up the report from part A to part E. To part D, I beg your pardon. At 12:30, because you asked for an hour, we're giving an extra half an hour. At 12:30, we will return with a clean report, and we will formally adopt the report. I'll come to you. Oh, if and when that happens, honorable members, the plan is that on adoption, sometime during the course of today, we will send the document out, and we must discuss who we're going to send it out once we've adopted it, and ask whoever the respondents are to give us their comments to reach us by the 16th of February. From the 16th of February, or the 17th of February till the 21st of February, we will consider those responses. From the 17th to the 21st, we will consider them. Whether we use all those days or one day, I'm not sure, but we will consider them. On the 22nd of February, this committee will go through this process again, of having considered all the inputs from respondents, factor them in where we think we want to factor them in, draw up our final recommendations, and then adopt the report, submit that report to Parliament, and meet our deadline of the 28th of February. That's the process that will be followed. I think it was Mr. Singh that wanted to raise a question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chairperson, may I make a humble appeal that we try and reconvene by 12 o'clock, because there haven't been much amendments, because some of us who do not take certain flights get back to our constituencies 5 hours later than if we had to take a later flight. Thank you.
Cindy indicates that it is possible, so that's not only her having done it, Cindy, it's having done it and printed the report. We'll distribute it here. Mr. Singh's request is not insurmountable. Honorable Chauke.
Chair, I want you to emphasize the process of what we have adopted as a principle, that it will be an open process until then. I want you to emphasize that point, even when we deal with recommendations, Chair.
I think we'll deal with that point, because remember, we've got one more agenda item to do when we come back. Who gets this report? When we deal with who gets this report, I think it's very clear that it is as transparent as possible. And when we receive the recommendations, the responses, it will be another process like this. So those that don't think we're transparent, we're never going to change their mind now. So that we will discuss when we come back. Honourable Singh, your request has been acceded to. We will try and get this cleaned up report to you. You're not going to get it beforehand. When you arrive here at 12, you'll receive version 5 now, or version 4, whatever it's going to be. For sake, you better not make it 4, because people already got one that's 4 by mistake. We'll just mark it V5. Is that all right, honourable members? Thank you very much. We will return at 12 o'clock.
Sorry about that. I couldn't do that. You came after me.
No, thank you. Because on the legal advice, yeah. Not under instruction. So that's why if you don't want to the law advice, say